everyone, Yasin here, and welcome to another episode of Pointy Chins, where I take you through my art journey. So, what do we have here? Well, I guess some experiments with heavier people. I have no idea what this was. I guess I was just playing around, trying to do a flying person. That didn't turn out very well. And I think overall, September 1st was not a good day. And some more stuff. Another person flying doesn't look good. And then a bird from imagination. And this told me, I do not know how to draw birds. I have no idea. Is this a Mega Man thing? I don't know. Yeah, so I don't think anything in the last 2 pages is very good. But the failure with the bird inspired me to work on birds. So just learning the feather patterns and like, oh, okay, so there's really long ones and then they get smaller. And then there's like 3 rows and then only 2 rows here. And that was useful. Get a sense of what the wings actually do and do something from imagination, trying to carry over the knowledge. I don't think that's very correct at all. And then I drew a horse, and these are from reference, not the pen. I don't know why I did that. And then did a dragon, because horses and dragons are pretty similar. Okay, so here, playing around with some more, cutesy proportions. They're not quite chibi, but something like that, like more childlike, I guess. And I really like them. I like how it goes like skinny and then fat and then skinny and then fat, like big and then small, and the head's like a big circle. So it's very circular. A lot of my stuff has more circles in it than it seems. It's like, oh yeah, it's sharp, but really it's built off. Like even here you can see it's built off circles. And yeah, this page is better, much better than the last one. This hand is too big, or glove, or whatever it is still too big. And then I guess this is like a dragon, and there's a cat type creature and a duck. And I'm trying to think about form here, like contour, and how does the back go? It turns and it goes around. How are the legs going? And this is kind of like thinking in perspective. I guess it is, but not super strict with creating all the lines and all the vanishing points. And I think even if you don't go 100% correct, you still can learn a lot. I kind of like this character. And then this, again, more rhythm, better shapes. And then with this character, I was experimenting with making a new, like I did the painting and then I made a new layer and set it to some color. And then I don't think it was really important. And I changed the layer mode to difference. And then I went into hue and saturation and I just fooled around with it until I got like this effect. And I really liked it, especially the breast. I think that looks cool, like really good. But I don't know, it still feels like I couldn't do it myself. I needed help to do that. And then here, this is all broken. But the idea was she had breasts that were filled with some kind of honey-like substance, and then she's squirting them out. The honey out, not her breasts. And just working with the thicker pen, and again, using a different color and then using black. So starting with a different color and then using black. And this guy is pretty okay. The shapes are kind of cool. Trapezius is huge and the neck is super long, but it's okay. And then what I realized, because sometimes I just think, or often I think, what do I struggle with? What am I still not good at? And I realized I'm very bad at like underneath like the crotch area for women. For men, I guess, as well, but it seemed like it would be smart to figure out how the butt and like the back and the front connect, and using women made a lot more sense. So a lot of stuff from reference here, trying to understand that things like this, how this moves in perspective, and then okay, so that's where the genitals show, and how things are from the back. And it's one of those things where I guess I was kind of embarrassed at first to do this, because I don't know, it almost feels like you're doing porn type stuff. But in the end, it is important to put your shame aside and do what's necessary to inform yourself. And it does help. Like, all this stuff really helped, because it's like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. Especially this, like, understanding, there's the sartorius coming around like that, and then you have these other connecting muscles and how they sort of connect. That was important. And then here it's like, okay, so now try and do things from imagination the next day and carry over what you learned. So, I don't know if it completely sunk in at this point, but it's fine, Doesn't have to sink in 100%. You can still revisit it. I like this character. And some turtle character. And a cat. And yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Not much to comment on. I mean, the shapes are getting better, but I'm still struggling. Like, my shapes aren't quite there. I can tell just based on the length of the thighs compared to the way I do them now. Here's a little guy. And I don't know. I don't hate this one. It's got volume to it, at least. May not be 100% correct. And this expression I really like. I think that's cool. Yeah, this is nice. And struggling still, how to draw breasts. Do I make them very crazy horizontal? And this is kind of neat. This character, again, I decided to push a breast outside and actually break the form of the arms, so the arms go behind the breasts, and then the waist gets super skinny. And it's just different kinds of experiments, really, some little characters here, some good gesture, and it's all trying to figure out solutions to problems. So here, still trying to draw my females, trying to get the mileage down, because it's not just okay to draw a figure, for me anyway. It's not about just making a figure that's like, yeah, it's okay, it's pretty original, it's pretty good. It's like, no, I want to get it all working together and very cohesive. And so, experimenting with some foreshortening. This is terrible, but yeah, see? Like, the legs are the thing that seem to break it for me here. This is a cool character, though. That's a cool pose, and that's a cool pose. But yeah, it's like, some of this is working and some isn't. So the head does not feel like it quite fits with the body here. This one, like the head and the breast feel like they're in the same thing. But then this is like, yeah, kind of, not quite. So it's a lot of struggling to nail things down. And still struggling, getting more shapes, the appeal, trying to get that back. Crazy hair. Mostly just playing around with shapes. Trying to understand as much as I can. Bringing back that thing of, where do you put the detail? And trying to experiment. Okay, so does it get more detailed near the top, and then it gets a bit more empty? And can you add more information? And when does it become too crowded? This head doesn't quite work on this body. Still struggling with forearms a bit. And this is quite nice though. So, I mean, with faces, it's not such a big deal. It's pretty much done. But with everything else, I'm still struggling. And some smaller poses, trying to do flying characters. I think this is pretty cool. She's holding some kind of staff thing, so her arm is back there. And that's her hair. And it's pretty dynamic. What else? That one's okay. I think that's interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to get gesture. And when I work on things like gesture, some of the other things sort of fade away. Like some of the rounder, big bulging shapes go away. Maybe the faces get more realistic. You can see here it's a bit different than here. And this, I figure, is just part of it, you know. In the end, I know I need one consistent style, but I'm not gonna fight it too much if I'm, you know, still in the area. So this was a super important day for me, September 14th. And it is because, see here, I've got a figure, and here as well. And I'm still struggling with the legs and, you know, how it feels like, well, the head's almost childlike, and then the body feels a bit older in a way. But then I did this one, and it's like, wait, that's working. And what I had done is, instead of making the legs super long, because I don't hate this idea of long legs, I just made the distance from the pelvis, the hips, to the thigh, to the knee, like the whole thigh area, I made that shorter, and I left this part longer. And it's like, oh, this is something. This is something. So then I wanted to play around with that more. Okay, so is that a thing? Make this smaller than I naturally would want to, and then let this get longer. And it's like, yeah, that's starting to work. And then experimenting here, it's like, yeah, it seems to have fixed the problem. Because if the legs are, like, if the hips aren't too wide and you've got this big head, this almost feels a bit too realistic. And then mixing these two feels awkward. But here, because it's all pushed, like the head is really big, the neck is super tiny, the shoulders are pretty small, the waist is incredibly small, then the hips are huge, and then the thighs are shorter, and then you have knees, and then the bottom of the what do you call it, lower leg. And it's just like, good. This is feeling much more correct. And this is something I knew would happen when I feel like the proportions are working. I know it. Like, it's not a case of fighting it. It's like, yes, this is what the style was supposed to be. I just didn't know that. And here, I'm trying to break things down into like geometric patterns and see, are there any patterns? And so I drew the figure first, and then I wanted to analyze it. So I realized, oh, it's all diamonds, like diamond, and then this is a big diamond. And you can think of a diamond as either a diamond or two triangles stuck together. And so it's like diamond shape, diamond shape, diamond shape. The feet are diamonds, the arms are diamonds, the hands are diamonds. It's like, okay, just a bunch of diamonds. So that's cool. To me, that felt like, okay, there's some pattern going on as well. This is much more cohesive. I can work off this. And like, I drew this figure, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. That's working. I tried it for guys as well. Much wider shoulders. And basically it's just, you know, similar but flipped, kind of like the waist and the hips are super tiny for guys. The shoulder is very wide. And then more, you know, just it feels like whenever I figure something out, like I found a new toy, so then I want to play with it. Playing around with the proportions. I did the same thing that I did for the girl here. I did it with the guy here and broke it up into a big diamond. But then I noticed with the guys there was a lot more rectangles. So it's like, okay, yeah, there's diamonds and there's triangles, but there's also rectangles, rectangle, and this is a diamond. So it's something to keep in mind. It's like, okay, so guys have more rectangles in them, but still, my guys have a lot of diamonds. And then here, I wanted to figure out the proportions, because I know the proportions of a human figure, like the more realistic ones, but I have to sort of unlearn all the years of realism and start to figure out what I've discovered, like my own personal proportion. And what does that look like? And what does it mean? So for instance, I have a big head. Fine. And then you need the neck to be small so that the head, I don't know, it doesn't feel right if the neck's too big, because as the neck's smaller, it's like, okay, this looks more cartoony. And then the shoulders, here they're a bit wide, but okay, fine. You have the shoulders, and then everything's squished. Like the entire rib cage is very compressed. And the reason is so that you can get this long shape. And then you have this wide shape again for the hips, but it's very compressed again. So you have like tall and then wide and then tall and then wide. And then I want the legs to look long, but if I make these too long, it starts to look, I don't know, not realistic again. So it's like, make this shorter, and I go even shorter than this, and then make this longer. And then same here, keep this upper arm skinny, and then make it bulge out, and then taper off. So the halfway point of this figure is actually not even close to half in the middle. So this normally would be like halfway. And for a lot of people, the top of the head to the bottom of the crotch is even more than halfway compared to the legs. But in this, the legs are much, much longer. But to me, anyway, it's getting better, and it doesn't look that bad. Some weird experiment with this person, like flipping over, because I wanted to see, like, okay, so you have this body, but how does it actually function? And that's why I'm doing these experiments. Like, if a person bent over and actually had this body, because it's not correct, it shouldn't actually work. Because think about it this way: if the from the shoulder to the elbow, if that's less than half from the elbow to the wrist, then if you bend your arm up, it's not going to be accurate. Same with if you sit on your, like, normally if this person was in normal proportion and they sat down, their butt would be on their heels, right? Well, if you sit in a certain way, like you, I don't know, kneel or whatever, then your butt's on your heel. But for this, your butt would be on your ankles if you're this long. And so it was sort of like, okay, that's a bit of a problem, but I didn't know if the answer was to cheat it or just keep going. And I like this character. Some screaming face thing. And yeah, here I pushed it a bit, but then I realized, like, no, this is too big. This whole butt area is too big. It needs to be squished even more. It sounds painful when I'm saying these things. Like, oh, you need to squish this and squish the breasts and squish the butt and squish the pelvis and the rib cage. So here I was deciding to push it even further. And this is important, I think. You push something to its limit, and then you think that's a limit, and then push it further, not because you think it should go further, but more because I think you learn a lot more when you push to the extremes. You learn about your boundaries and what happens, like what happens when this breaks. So I pushed it this far, and it's like, it still kind of works. It's not completely broken. Something that I found interesting is that I got this book called, I guess it was Masters of Anatomy. Anyway, and it had a bunch of different artists who drew the same characters or similar characters, male and female, in front, back, and 3/4 inside, I think. And they had them all nude. But a lot of them didn't look that good. in the nude figure. And I thought, well, for myself, I want it so it looks good in every state. Like, it looks good if they're nude, it looks good if they've got clothes on, it just looks good all the time. So that was important for me. And that's why I'm sticking with these nude figures for so long, because it's like, I need it to work. And I think it's up to you when you stop. I guess in some cases, it's time that's a limiting factor. But if time isn't an issue, I think it's really important to decide how far do you want to go. Do you want to make something that is acceptable or professional level? Or do you really want to figure out, how far your style can really go? How to, like, are you striving to perfect it? Which is, I think, something that maybe you never do, but it's a worthy goal. So now when I draw the figures like this, it's like, yep, that's just working so much nicer. It looks like one figure. It looks like a very specific style. And I don't think I've seen anyone else do it the way I'm doing it. So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of rewarding. Like, oh, I did something with my life. Yeah, this is funny. I tend to do these at the end when I'm really tired of drawing. Like, I'll draw, and then, and here's some action-y pose. Still playing with this, almost like it's a mannequin or a doll or something, just trying to figure out how does this work. And this is pretty nice. I like the hair. And this one with the hat looks like this is from reference. This is from reference, but now I'm taking reference and I'm trying to apply the same proportion. So I'm shrinking the distance from the pelvis to the knee and extending from the knee to the ankle, extending that distance. And it looks a bit weird, but I figure, okay, fine, just fight it for a while, get used to it, and figure out things as well, because I need to do refinement, obviously. It's not done yet. It's just like, yeah, okay, you're in the ballpark, but this isn't where you end. This is pretty much like, oh, now you can begin. And here what I did was some Joe Mad studies, because I was interested in taking his character and doing a copy, but in this new proportion and in my style, and see what happens. And it's like, okay, so this kind of happened, and I think it's cool. Like, of course his work is cool, but I think this version isn't bad either. And then this one's from Imagination, and I kind of like it as well. It's a kind of a cute character. And this character is called Purple Heart, and I don't remember what series or what franchise it's from. Neptunia something. Anyway, I haven't actually played, or if it's a game I haven't played it, if it's an anime I haven't seen it. But I really like the character, and so I just did a copy of someone else's character of it, but again in my style. And the weird thing is, like, I look at both of them and I know I did a copy, but it's like, this looks very different. And the same was happening with the reference. Like, even, I guess the style's so weird now that even if I draw from reference, it's hard to tell. Like, oh, it's from reference. It feels like, no, it's too different. And I think that's probably a good thing. Okay, more gesture, trying to draw kids more. Yeah, I guess this is not a great day, just, playing around. Here, again, bringing things back to reference. So, trying to, the head's wrong. This is really wonky, the skull and the eye placement and stuff, but whatever. And here too, it just bothers me how the shoulder's so far out on this side and so far in on this side, but reference. I guess everything here I think is reference, maybe? And there's some things I didn't even realize, like breasts. Well, not that breasts can be this big, but when I was drawing the breasts, but they were sort of big anyway, but I was drawing average sized ones and then, or not average, like larger. But anyway, when I did very big ones, it's like, wow, they really look gigantic. And same for this character who's squeezing their breasts together. It's like, yeah, I mean, I think it looks cool. It's appealing. And it does look more squishy than my normal or my previous stuff. So that's good. Here I was using a different paper because Flavia wanted me to try like this different brown paper. And I don't know, it's more expensive. So I always feel nervous using these things. And I tried using some white to get some highlights and stuff. And it's like, it's okay. It's not bad. I just didn't feel ready for it. I felt like, no, I need to still work on my stuff a lot more before I start using fancy paper. But I did like how, you can get things to look shiny and just the added value of white. It's very useful. But yeah, didn't feel up to it. So I went back to my normal thing, some figures from reference. Again, see, like, this is what I mean. It doesn't even look to me anymore like reference, really. Or, I mean, it does look like, yeah, maybe you did use reference, but it doesn't look like a copy of a photo. And that's the problem I used to always have. They just looked like copies of photos. Here I'm trying to figure out leg positioning with this shorter part. Shorter upper leg, longer lower leg. Yeah, some meat baggy person. And same thing. I feel like at this point it's hard to get some of the information by myself from imagination as I can get from reference. So I'm stuck because when I do things from reference, it seems like the gesture suffers. Like here it's from imagination and it feels a lot more gestural, more grounded. But when I do things from reference, it's like, oh, I've got more information to work with, like see how the leg goes, how the foot looks, how the shoulder goes and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a fight between information and appeal, I feel. This is cool. Just small figure. Okay, so clearly this is a bad day. But I was trying to do, flying energy poses and stuff. And I wanted to get like a very easy to draw stick figure, but in this new proportion. So I could start doing gesture drawings really quickly without it taking, because right now it takes quite a while to get my drawing down. All the, see, like I draw the head and this is a simplified figure, but it still takes a while. So trying to get to a point where it's like, okay, if I have to do 30-second gestures, I still can do it and it will be in my style and it will look very appealing. That's taking some work. And then here, she has these like, I don't know, oval things cut into her leg and stuff, but it's really not so much that, like, that's the result and it looks like that, but that's not why I did it. Why I did it is because I wanted to understand the pivot and the planes and see like, okay, so this is the side, then this is the front, this is the side, this is more the front. And I felt like doing these types of things helps. Here you can see the same thing. So sometimes, this guy looks sad, sometimes you're doing things that maybe on the outside it seems like one thing, but actually it's something else. And here I think I was in the airport and just didn't have much time, but had to do my page, and so just some gestures, and I guess another day in the airport, plane, and I don't know, just people. Some of these are from life, and like this one, it's just a person pushing a thing, but then again, try and keep it in my style. And here, some thumbnails, because I figured, I haven't done thumbnails in a while. And so this is pretty nice. And let's see. Can't say I like any of these. This one's okay. And this one's got a nice attitude. This one not quite working. And here I'm starting to learn about breasts and to get them away from just rounded shapes and to think of them more like they get a bit more boxy. It's not really intuitive, but it kind of works. And so it's something I have in my mind, like, that's a thing. And then here, the issue was the neck. So do I keep, like, the head sizes are the same. Well, no, they're not. The triangle from the top of the head to the shoulders is the same. And then, like, the head gets smaller and the neck gets longer in this proportion. And it looks a bit more alien. And then this one seems a bit more normal, as in I've seen it before, but the head's bigger. And so, and just some shapes, playing around with shapes, appealing shapes. It's all stuff you got to work on. So I'm very aware that I haven't drawn as much as a lot of artists. So, especially artists who didn't spend years and years just doing analytical copying from photos type stuff. So here's some more thumbnails. And thinking about graphic design, like, okay, you have this figure on the page. It's not really working. There's a lot of empty space, but then fill it with this border and it sort of unifies it all. It's like, okay, that's fine. Same here. It's kind of empty without these little decorative things. But then once you add them, it's like, okay, it's something. Same here and here. I think here it wasn't really working, wasn't helping, but whatever. And it's just an idea. I'm trying to play with these graphic shapes, having this one break the frame. This one too, just breaking the border. I think it's useful. And then here, back to thinking about just basic appealing shapes and relationships and stuff. This is ugly to me. This is ugly. This is ugly. They don't have a good flow. They don't have a good appeal. It's very easy for me to see. It's more like you just want to look at them, and it's got to, for me, it's like it's got to look cool or interesting. Like this looks interesting. This looks interesting. This looks interesting. Especially this one. It looks cool. It's got a rhythm to it. It's got a flow, and that's what I'm aiming for. I want it so when I draw something, kind of like Joe Mad, you look at it and it's like, cool, that's great. This not really working, this figure, but this one's much better. So it's because I guess the shape, it's wide and then it gets thin, and then here it's just thin and then it gets wide, but there's nowhere to go, right? It doesn't get thin again. So that's not an appealing shape. That's sort of a dead shape to me. And some spirals. And some more, playing around. I like this figure. It's pretty cool. It's not correct, but the hips are totally messed up, but whatever. Gotta work on that. And then this figure, I figured that, okay, so the character, as they put on weight, their skeletal structure is not going to change, so their proportions aren't going to change, but they're going to get fatter. And I tried this and it's like, no, that is not okay. That doesn't work. Tried this one and it's a bit better. So it's like, oh, maybe the idea in my head is maybe I won't be able to stick to reality, the rules of just the way, physics works or anatomy works. Maybe I'm going to have to compromise a little bit like they do or very much like they do in cartoons, where it's not based on reality so much as it's just, playing around whatever looks good. Here again, more structural, more formy, trying to get the perspective down. See here, gets a bit more stiff, but what can you do? So next episode, I'm going to be working on quite a few things, just like this one, a lot of breakthroughs. So I hope you'll stick around and join me for that one. And as far as this goes, thanks for watching.